Today we're going to talk about how to modify an FK8. Let's go. I am filming this in a car park because it won't stop raining, so apologies for that. Right, quick and easy. Intake, exhaust, wheels, all that good stuff. I'm just going to get straight into it. First one is exhaust. These stock sound like lawnmowers typically, so easier just to get. You can get loads of different ones: Miltech, Cobra, HKS, Dream do one, loads of different options. The stock system sounds rubbish, so it's too quiet, especially for a hot hatch. So this is why I swapped mine, one of the first ones I ever did, and it sounds like this. Something I will say about this exhaust is it is slightly different to some other cars that I've had experience with. For example, my EP3. A lot of people 421 headers into decal and then obviously into the camber exhaust, and that's the boost. With these cars, your stock downpipe is brilliant. You don't need to sports cat it, decat it, whatever. It's fine for, especially if you're macking up to sort of 400 horsepower. 400 foot-pounds. I'm not sure what that is in Newton meters. I think it's around 500. Yeah, whatever. So you can retain the downpipe and you get a 3-inch cap back. There is another pipe that you need to get from the down. It's called the front pipe or the mid pipe. It depends which one, and that is a major restriction on these cars. You've probably seen a little bit about it. So speaking to my tune, he recommended they do their own version, but it's a full 3-inch front pipe. And what that does is, where the turbo is, there's obviously your downpipe, and then from this point here, it's another pipe that goes to the floor, to the catback exhaust. That is something I've never come across before in a car. Obviously, it's quite popular to do decat downpipe into exhaust, tune, and away you go. Very different on this. There are systems out there. The problem is it makes it more expensive. You can either, and a lot of the systems that are sold, it comes as one, but it's just an extra piece that you need to get, especially if you're wanting more power from your build. Intake, as you can see, I've got the PRL in airbox. I've also got the PRL inlet pipe over here. This is a titanium pipe. Honda, because that's the turbo right there. Why Honda did this, I don't know, but the stock airbox, it sits in its position, and then there's the stock steel pipe that comes into there, into the turbo like that. What that means is you're essentially getting cold air in here, and that's first of all preheated before it gets into the engine, and then obviously into the engine there. So obviously cold air better, we all know this. This pipe is titanium, which should repel or keep the heat out better than the stock steel one, and it's a larger diameter. Now there are other options out there as well, so I think InGen and HKS, there's a couple of others as well that do it, but essentially you're getting more airflow into here and more cold air into the engine. On other cars, obviously the turbo sits at the back of the engine, so Volkswagens, I think the airbox sits here, and then there's a turbo elbow mod into the back where the turbo sits. For some reason Honda put the turbo at the front, which I get is easier maintenance, but this is a bit of a design flaw. You can get the titanium one like I've got, or the carbon fibre. Some people heat wrap the stock pipe, it depends what you want to do, but what you can do is get the airbox only and then add to the pipe later on, which is what I did. With the PRL system, they do both, but this pipe needs to change because obviously this is a wider diameter than stock, so you get a different silicone meet-up. Regarding this as well, this is the PRL Street, so you retain the MAF sensor there, which means you don't have to run it with a map. Don't get the one with the race MAF unless your intention is to map it straight away, otherwise it won't run and it's really bad for your car. Another thing people do on these is they get a blow-off valve. Now the jury is still out on that one, it depends who you speak to. I know in the American market, blow-off valves are really popular. I think HKS do one, and Turbo Smart and even GFB do one. Now, depending on who you speak to, the person who I want to map my car says these engines are made for recirculation. They're not made for blow-off valves or vent to atmosphere valves, as that ultimately can cause more wear and tear on your engine. Some people still do it. If you want in turbo sound, the PRL is good enough. I'll put a clip in here of what it sounds like when I first had it fitted. You get that turbo noise, so yeah, clip here. Wheels are another one which is quite a common swap on these, like the exhaust is. The 20-inch are made for the Nürburgring. I think I might have touched on this before in a previous video, but to drive around town they're an absolute nightmare. So what people do is get the 18s or the 19s with the higher sidewall, gives you that extra comfort. These are a little bit wider and you get that flush fitment as well. I'm going to do an entire video about wheels because I went down such a rabbit hole with mine and it's so confusing. And these are BMW spec, so it's 5x120 stud pattern. It's a 64.1mm centre bore, which is that, and then they are 18 by 9.5J, and the tyres are 265 35 18s. God spec. If you look no further than the spec, if you're not interested in going down a rabbit hole, just get that, and I'll drop it in the description as well. Just copy that, go to your reputable parts online store, order the wheels on that. And this is where I would put my 10% discount code of an online store of a reputable parts shop for Hondas. If I had one. Suspension. So this car is on low range springs now, and I know in the previous video I was talking about that. I'm going to do a different video about that because that was an event trying to get that sorted. I won't go into it, I'll go into the next one, but I've got spoon low range springs. The other thing I have, which I'm going to show you here, is, why are you fighting me, car? The other thing I have, which I'll show you and I'll talk a little bit about, this is where you find it, just behind here. Ignore the little racing car, it's just on this panel here. You just take that, see if you get that. Just on this panel here behind the passenger door is the suspension module from the limited edition FK8 Type R. So that's the yellow one, the stripped out one. That is the 1 in 500. So what that means is this is a 2018 car, and in the facelift it got an upgrade, and it's just a little module, like a little computer. I'll put a picture of it here when I swap mine. It's just a module that controls the active dampening in this car. Now, in the facelift they upgraded that, and then for the limited edition they upgraded that even further. And it also had different calibration because the limited edition came with either 18 or 19 inch forged lightweight BBS wheels like those. So got the best ADS system in there. It's just a little box. It's a 10-minute fix. Literally take the plastic panel off, undo the 2 bolts, take the clip off, swap it over. I've got an Instagram post about it which I'll link down below. It is the easiest mod by far to do, and especially if you've got low range springs, you don't want to deal with coilovers and deleting the adaptive suspension. These handle perfectly from stock, like I've said in the other video. That is for me the best and easiest way to improve the suspension by far. It is sick, honestly. Intercooler is another big one, and that is a recommendation if you wanted to get any sort of power out of these cars, because the stock one just does not cut it. So you can get HKS do a kit, BRL do a kit, even AirTech. I know they're big in the Ford scene. Now AirTech did the intercoolers for these on the British touring cars when these were British touring cars in the Touring Car Championship. Really, they're all good, but you definitely need a bigger intercooler if you're going to try and push any more power, otherwise it's not really worth it. The head unit in these is another one. it's quite different and quite quirky. So when I bought this car, I knew that the head unit, the stock head unit, wasn't that great, but obviously, I think I mentioned in another video, attach your phone to it and forget about it. That's probably the easiest way to deal with it. I did think there's going to be thousands of options out there. Like most other cars, you can buy something on eBay or whatever, 50 quid, and you've got Android in there and it's a full touchscreen and all that kind of stuff. There's one that I found and it's called Joying, and you have to buy it from AliExpress, and it's like nearly 400 quid. It's a bigger screen and it's 1080p. I don't know if I trust it enough to spend 400 quid on it. I would like to see another one. I've not seen an FK8 with one of these in. Maybe that's something that I'll look for when I go around to shows and things like that. I don't know why it's so difficult or why it's so rare, but yeah, if that is something that bothers you, just think about whether there's no options if you want to modify that. Bit of forewarning for some of the issues I've had with this car in terms of modifying it. I got these windows tinted, which is fine. The side ones are fine. This back one, the places I went to go, a couple of places turned me down because it was too complicated. One company did try it, but didn't go to plan. They couldn't manage. I mean, this is stock tin anyway, so once you've got the sides on, it looks a lot darker. But I'm now having trouble in terms of my heated back screen and the lock, because what they spray on it, it messes with the wiring and it's quite sensitive. So if you want to get it tinted, just forget this. Just do the sides, because otherwise you're gonna have a headache like I am, and you're gonna have to try and fix it somehow. Another popular one is the wind deflectors. Now I had some old ones on here that were cracked and broken, so I tried to take them off. When I did take them off, it left these marks, and you have to replace this whole panel and get a full shot. You can't just like wrap it over. I've looked, 'cause it's not quite there. And I had the intention to put the Mugen wind deflectors over the top of it anyway, but you can't do that because it needs a solid smooth surface to bond to. So I need to get this fixed. I'm going to order the parts from Amiyama, which do a Honda OEM supplier, and for some reason it's cheaper to go to them and order from Japan than it is to buy these from Honda in this country. And for this one on the other side, it's damaged for the driver's side. That is £150 from Honda UK. It's about £60 delivered with shipping and taxes from Amiyama. I've recently discovered them. They are brilliant. Just check in on Amiyama for that. Get the Honda part number. It saved me loads of money. But yeah, just to touch on the wind deflectors on that, that's another common mod that people like to do. These are the Unity side markers. I think I might have mentioned it in my first walk around video, but they're brilliant and they're cheaper than the stock ones, and it's a solid unit, which means you're not going to get any condensation and they're not going to break. So just a nice little, and I think it sets the car off really well. This one's not really a modification, but let me try and point this out to you. That grommet there, I've put that in and it was recommended because apparently there's a drain hole and it can drip into coil pack 4 on this and cause a bit of an issue. I probably should have picked up on that on my previous video, but I thought I'd just mention it here. I've got the cover on, which is less of an issue, but obviously some people like to change the rocker covers for the Spoon ones or the J's Racing ones, and then this is removed so it leaves it a bit more exposed for water ingress. So there's no issue with that. Just drop it there and then it drains out the sides here. But just, yeah, something I've done to the car which I'm hoping will save me a lot of money in the long term. Now, as you can see, I've got the Mugen shift knob with Alcantara, because the stock one you get frostbite in winter and you burn your hands off in summer, so I had to get rid of that. I've changed these out because these usually are just a cheap plasticky bit, you know, like that. So I've swapped that out just for some nice Alcantara ones. A few people do those. These are from Overland and it was honestly brilliant. I definitely recommend those. Another thing you can do is these scratchy material, get that done in Alcantara, and the pillars as well. just a quick nice interior mod. Makes it feel a bit more plush in here. These are obviously the fake carbon. You can get those swapped out for real carbon as well. Now I'm not too sure if this is just on the US spec that you don't get these, and on these it's as standard, but what I have is, I don't know if you can see that on my feet there, I've got the red lights down there, and then also I've got on here, well you can see it better now, it's just lit up when you open the door, and then these are the light up and then yeah, in the doors there on the sills you can get the light up things. That is a Honda access option as far as I know. Some people have them, some people don't, and I don't know if that's because there's a GT spec or a regular spec, but mine had all of this from stock. So I had the lights, the phone charger, and the door sills and everything that lit up, and same on the passenger side as well. So let me know in a comment if that is stock for the UK and you don't get that in the US, or what the situation is. I've had this car 2 years and I've never figured that one out, and there's, you know, Honda access options are very expensive. Whoa. Right, so I think the only thing left to talk about really is tuning, remaps, whatever you want to call it. With the FK8, to my knowledge, there's only 3 methods you can do this. You can map direct to ECU, there's KTuner, and there is Honda. Mapping to ECU is the cheapest method. I believe you can technically have switchable maps by switching the modes, Comfort, Sport and R+. If you want, if you go either KTuner or Honda, you get much more functionality. KTuner is the one I've seen the most of. That's the one I think that I'm going to go with. I like the fact you can get 10 switchable maps. You can put on valet mode, you can do E10 mode, which is quite helpful over here because you're not always getting 99 fuel. Sometimes even the premiums are only 97 fuel. I'm not sure what that is for American translation. That confuses the life out of me. But 99 is our premium super daddy fuel. So essentially you can swap between those if you ever get stuck, which would be good for me because if I'm travelling for work long range, I sometimes travel to the extremes of the country where you're basically stuck, so it'd be good for me just to pull up, get a coffee, switch it over in KTuner. And I like the fact that you get functionality with the app. I think Honda do something similar. I like the fact that you can connect it to, I don't know, an old tablet or whatever and have it sat next to your main screen, even connect to the head unit if you so wish. Have a look at, and I think you can whack in oil temp sensors and things like that you can add to it a little bit, and gives you that extra flexibility and functionality, which is, again, like I've said with this car, want it to be a good all-rounder, want it to be able to get it to a track, get the map switched over to track mode, full blast, and then get it into regular driving around mode. I think there's what's called a wet map as well, which is like an eco mode. If you're thinking that you're driving on a road trip or something like that and you don't just want to be paggering through your fuel, why did you buy a hot hatch? But you get the flexibility is, and I believe Honda is quite similar. I can hear the Americans screaming here because I've covered the basics of mods for this video. One thing I haven't touched on is fuel systems. I've seen a lot of videos where one of the first things they'll do is flex fuel, and that is E85, E30 ratios. That's not something we can get over here easily. I know the Americans have it on the pumps, which is brilliant. I think, well, you can get it in the UK, but it's extremely expensive. And the problem with ethanol is if you're living with a car like I am, you have to smash it. So I would only ever use it if I'm going on track days and things like that, or going to the Nürburgring. I would only ever use it then. And it's quite an intrusive mod to do for something that I'm going to use 5% of the time, and it has the danger that, the way I understand that it works is that it can rot your fuel lines basically, and because it evaporates more quickly and mixes with water, and you can get moisture in your engine and all that kind of stuff. I don't want that hassle, to be fair. And maybe if I'm want to push big numbers and look into it a bit more, but I think it's not as easy. If I was somewhere like France, for example, who do have it on the pumps and it is a little bit cheaper, I probably would like run an E30 more and, you know, and rip through it and that's it. But because it's a bit more exclusive here and it's a bit more expensive, I wouldn't want to run it all the time. And then knowing me, I'd baby it a little bit, and it's just not worth the hassle one bit. So
I hope you like the video. Again, I've covered the basics. I think it's a good recipe and little bits that I've sort of found out along the way. Obviously, modifying a car is how long is a piece of string and how much money have you got, essentially. I'll do a more in-depth video if this one gets a good reception on YouTube. I'll talk about things like Prattworks inlet manifolds, I'll talk about cooling systems, I'll talk about catch cans, that kind of thing. While we're on the subject of cooling, this is a funny one because there are certain videos out there of this is the hot hatch that overheats on track, which I think most cars would struggle on a hot summer day, 35 degrees in a heat wave in Germany, on a racetrack, being driven by a race car driver. I think most cars would have a little bit of issue with heat. Now I know it's a big thing, so you see it all over the place online when you look at these cars. I want to see the same results of a cold March day in the UK on a racetrack, Thruxton or Donington or whatever, and see what the temps do. There's a few guys who are in our Owners Club community and they're time attack guys, and they know ways to combat this. They understand what they're doing in terms of cooling and things like that, and when you ask them and say, look, this is my modified street car, what do you think, because I'm worried about cooling, a lot of the time they're just like, you'll be fine, Paul, you'll be right. If you want to get more into that, I can make a more in-depth video depending on the reception of this, and leave a comment down below if you think that that is something that you want to look into. But there's things like oil coolers, there's under trays, brake coolers. It gets a bit more in-depth, and I think that's getting more into the sort of nitty-gritty of things, and that is when you sort of push in the envelope a little bit more on these cars. For this video I wanted to cover what most people are going to go for, so I hope you enjoy it, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one, which is probably going to be a wheels guide or a suspension guide, I'm not sure. Ready? Sorry, that was for the end. Oh god, that was awful.